Alright, ladies and gentlemen, time for a little lesson. I'm calling it a little mini lesson. It's called Get a Side Length. So, what's going on is you'll be given a triangle, such as one here, and you need to find this missing side length. You know, and sometimes people think it's like, oh, you should use Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but you also don't know this side length, and you have to know 2 of the 3 to get the third one. Instead, what you're given is this angle here and another side, and you have to use that to get the missing side. And the way you're going to do that is by using trigonometry. You may have noticed because we're in a trigonometry unit. But, so you're going to look at your angle and figure out what are the sides that you do have. Well, we got this side, which is called hypotenuse, so we got h here. And the side we're looking for is the one right next to it, and so that is going to be adjacent. So we have hypotenuse, we want to get adjacent. You have to think about which trig function that is. Go ahead and say aloud, which trig function is it? Hopefully you said cosine, because it's cosine. So I know cosine of my angle, so I'm not going to put theta here. I'm going to put the actual angle, 56 degrees, is adjacent over hypotenuse, so it's going to be x over 17, my hypotenuse. And now I have an equation. And if you remember, this is going to be a specific value, and you're going to use a calculator to get that. So this is a number, and this one's also a number that we know. And that means we can solve this equation. You're trying to solve for x. And so, normally to get rid of division, you're going to multiply. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 17. And so I got that x is 17 times cosine of 56 degrees. And this is something you can put in your calculator. In fact, you can put the entire left side here in your calculator. And it's going to be an infinitely long decimal thing. So I'm going to get an approximation for x. And I'm going to just punch it in my calculator, 17 times cosine of 56 degrees. And I get about 9.50627. It kind of goes on forever. And so I'm going to round that off to be 9.51. I want you guys to round to the, it says nearest tenth. So I'm going to round to my first decimal place instead of my second one. And voila, I have my side length. If you're wondering what that looks like in the online calculator, let me pull this up, clear out what's here. I need to do 17 times, and remember to get cosine, you can be in the main area, and you just click on cosine, or you can go to FUNC, which is function, and you go to cosine there. I'll just stay on the main. I got cosine of 56. 56. Make sure your little toggle switch here is on degrees, and you can see that I got my 9.50627. So that's how you get it in the online graphing calculator. And it's really similar on any scientific calculator. Sorry, it's not the online graphing calculator, it's the online scientific calculator. Anyway, so that's what this assignment's about. You set up an equation, and then you can solve your equation for x, because you'll know some of your trig values. So let me see what I got here. I want to do one more for you, which is like a third of the assignment. And we'll talk about how to set up your equation. So let's look at 4. And I want you to set up the equation. So pause the video for a moment and set up the trigonometry equation. Put the x, the 20, and the 19 in the correct spots. Pause it, do that. Alright, so when I look at my 20 and my sides, I see I'm missing hypotenuse, and I have the opposite. So I have hypotenuse. I don't have hypotenuse. I do have opposite. And so I got to use my trig function of sine, and this is sine of 20 degrees, and it's going to equal opposite, which is 19, over hypotenuse, which is my x value. So now I have an equation looking like this. If you got this, awesome, you're on to the right track. To finish solving this, you need to get rid of this denominator. So I'm going to times both sides by x, and that's going to be x times sine of 20 degrees equals 19. But I don't want x times anything, I want x all by itself. So I'm going to divide by sine of 20 degrees, divide by sine of 20 degrees. And you got x is 19 divided by sine of 20 degrees. Well, this right side is something you can put in your calculator. So I'll show you in this online calculator again. So I was going to clear this stuff out. I got 19 divided by, and on the left side push sign, it's 20 degrees. Close my parenthesis there, push enter. And I got 55.5522867. So this is equal to 55.55, what else? 228362. And it just keeps going. It does go on forever. So we're going to round to, we're going to round to our second decimal place. Sorry, our first decimal place, which is here. We got to look at the 5. The 5 there is 5 or greater. So we're going to be rounding up. X is about 55.6. Sorry, it's not degrees. It's just 55.6, whatever the units are. So there you go. You set up an equation, solve the equation for X, and then you can plug in the result and get your answer. There is one handy little pattern I want to mention, though, before we finish off this video, is if we look here at where we started and what we ended up putting in, we got x equals 19 over sine of 20, and then originally it was sine of 20 equals 19 over x. Well, if you realize there's a handy little pattern you can do, if you're trying to solve for this, you can just switch places here. And it's always going to work out like that. You'll times by the denominator, and then you'll divide by whatever was here. And so they're going to essentially be switching locations. And that's going to happen pretty often as I do further examples in the future, that you can just switch those. It's just a really nice property with fractions and equations there. So there you go. Good luck.